Hi, today we have a very special guest. We have with us Mr. Anuj Dayal. Anuj has been at the forefront of the reputation management for the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. As Executive Director of Corporate Communications for DMRC, he looks at all things communications for the Metro Rail that everybody in NCR loves. Thank you, Mr. Dayal, for joining us, and it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for calling me.
So, you've been with this Delhi Metro network for over 30 years now, or working for over 30 years with the Indian Railways first and then the Delhi Metro.
Yeah,
Tell us about your journey. How did it all happen? How did you get into the world of railways and then Delhi Metro?
See, railways I got in through the civil services examination. And I was very well settled in railways. I didn't want to come to Delhi Metro because railways was an established organization. And DMRC was an absolutely new ball game. And it was being constructed in a city. My journalist friends advised me not to join this place. Because they told me that whatever you do here is going to only disrupt people. The city has been built, now you're trying to build the metro. So the description given to me in inverted commas was it's going to be a bed of thorns. But when I met the then MD, Dr. E. Sridharan, I found it difficult to refuse him. That gentleman has a certain charisma about him. And then I decided to join. It was a bit of a leap.
Which year was that?
1998.
And which year did you join the railways?
I joined railways in 1987.
Okay. So this was 1998, you said, almost 32 years ago.
Yeah.
And then what happened? So you met Sridharan, and then Sridharan, I guess, interviewed you, spoke to each other, and then he offered you a job. And then what happened after that? Did you?
It was very interesting. It was very challenging, I would say, because we have created this brand without doing any advertising at all. And we have taken over a lot of houses. We have had to demolish a lot of premises. We had to build the metro within a constructed area. And wherever you dig in Delhi, you will find utility cables, water, telephone, electricity cables. You can't disrupt any of them for even a day. Right. Traffic, as it is so congested. In that congested situation, to construct the metro, at the same time to avoid negativity. So the media, we concentrated on the media in a very big way. They played along with us beautifully, and I would say that in the first 10 years, 99% of the articles were positive.
Right.
In fact, when we started the metro, the phase 1 of the metro, there was so much excitement. It was only 8-kilometer stretch, but they thought all Delhi's transport and pollution problems are going to be solved by that one stretch. There was so much anticipation about this.
Right. So what did you do differently? Those days there was no digital, there was no Facebook and Twitter. So what did you do differently to get the media on your side when such a mammoth exercise was being undertaken?
It was very different in those days, because it was basically print media. And there were only about 20 to 22 publications you had to really concentrate upon. They decided the public opinion. So it was not that difficult in the sense that if you can handle those 20-22 newspapers, we should take regular press visits to the sites. And I did a lot of concentration on the media. And you have to understand the need of the media. After all, it can't be all, this concept of wining, dining and that sort of public relations. It doesn't work beyond the point. It's a very, very shallow scope. Right. PR as a profession has become very professional today. And everybody recognizes that also. So that need was understood very clearly. I was in a technical project. Everything was technical about Delhi Metro. True. The trains, the technology, everything was technical. Now I had to convert that technical information into non-technical information, make them into user-friendly stories which people could relate to. And I started off this whole exercise with the India International Trade Fair. At that point of time, India International Trade Fair used to be held every year, once a year in Pragati Maidan in 98. And that was a big event where the entire city would descend in those days. There weren't so many fairs in those days. So that was the first introduction we gave to what is going to come in the future. We built a metro out of wood.
Okay.
It's a quantum jump in technology.
Yes.
Because everybody else didn't know what is a metro. They knew what a railway system is.
Though there was a metro in Calcutta, but I think that was not.
Most of the Delhiites had not travelled in that.
Right.
They didn't know what an escalator was. There was no escalator in Delhi in 1998. There was an escalator at the airport, and there was an escalator at the Taj Palace Hotel. They had to use an extremely modern system. So that communication was very interesting. Right. For that communication, we did grassroots communication. We got Nukkad Nataks, those street plays organized.
Right.
And everything was described. Escalator was described as a staircase made of electricity in Hindi, Bijli ka Sidi. So the communication had to be in Haryanvi, Punjabi and Urdu, because depending on the area. That was in a Shahadra 30,000 section. And we had to I've been to all the nooks and corners of that section. And through a drum we used to get people. we started familiarizing them with that because they're very scared to use the metro. This huge building there, buying a ticket, a token, and then not touching the gate, and the gate opening and him getting stuck in between the gate. Then when he comes to the train, he finds the doors closing automatically. He's very scared he'll get stuck into it. These are genuine problems of a cycle user.
Right.
From a cycle to a metro, it's a huge jump.
Yes.
That communication was very interesting.
So there's a lot of education that had to go into it
A lot of it initially, very intensive.
And did you do some aspect of PR and outreach in your previous job in the railways as well?
That was my job there.
You did
also.
that there as well.
That was my job. So I'm a hardcore PR guy. My entire service has been in public relations.
So that's my question. How did you get into public relations at the railways in the first instance?
Look, I had done a number of courses in journalism and mass comm and all.
Right.
And there was a PR wing of the railways, and I opted for that.
Okay.
And then I stuck on.
Okay. And was Mr. Sridharan ever your boss or colleague in the railways as well before he?
He was a member engineering when I was in the railway ministry.
Okay.
But we never worked together in the ministry directly.
Right. Right. So tell us more about him, because he's a person that has been in the news forever and people look up to him as a very, very inspirational figure. They talk of him as being India's president in the past and things like that. Tell us more about what you learned from him, how he was different as a person to work with and report into.
I worked with him directly for 14 years. Those 14 years of my life is a meditative period. How those 14 years flew, I have absolutely no idea. It was a fantastic experience. We were busy from morning to, it was a 24-hour thing. I was living, breathing, eating. Metro is in my veins, literally. Yeah. Like you speak to army guys and all who have been in the forces from Sainik school and then they go join the NDA and all. Their blood turns green. Right. My blood is like the metro, literally.
Yeah, it's interesting to know. So tell us a couple of things that you still hold close to your heart that you learned from Mr. Sridharan.
Number one, for example, I am giving this interview to you, right? At this point of time, suppose I enter his room. It is just me and him. His mind is not thinking about other issues. He's a human being. He has got issues. He has a family. There are so many things. He has got his own body to worry about. There are so many things. But when he talks to you, it's a complete concentration on you only. The rest of the world is cut out. And behind his chair, in brass letters, he's got in very bold letters, he has written something from Yog Vasisht. Whatever I do not think I am doing it. Somebody is making me do it. Is to keep your mind on the ground. Otherwise, he was at the helm of affairs because he was member engineering, then head of Konkan Railway and then Delhi Metro. Power would have gone to his head. And that affects your decision making.
And what's the other thing? You said one thing that you learned from him.
Punctuality. He used to be in office at 9. And when I say 9, it means 9. It doesn't mean 9:05. And it doesn't mean 8:55. It means 9. Every meeting in Delhi Metro, even today, if the meeting is supposed to start at 3, it will start at 3. It won't start at 3:01. And it will not start at 2:59. So punctuality, he many times, for example, we were in the car and we had to go to meet the chief minister and we were early. He would not take the car into the office. He would wait outside, let the car idle and then bring it in at the right time. He was very, very punctual. We learned other things. I mean, one day I was going with him in an inspection. He used to keep on talking about Bhagavad Gita to us. So one day I asked him, which Bhagavad Gita, there are so many versions, which one should I? I'm interested also in spirituality. And he didn't say anything in the inspection, but when I came back, a typed note was at my table. And in that he had written a particular version of the Bhagavad Gita, which he from an ashram in Andhra Pradesh. I got it from there and I started reading it. So we started giving each officer a copy of the Bhagavad Gita. It teaches you theory of karma, improves integrity.
Right.
And he does yoga every day. So many of these things that I learned from him.
I'm sure when he moved on after retirement and you had a new boss also who's a very inspiring figure, you must have had a tough time dealing and missing his absence in your professional life.
Yes, no doubt. It's very difficult to get into the shoes of a gentleman like Mr. Sridharan. Right. But I would say the next incumbent, Dr. Mangu Singh, he has made a very valiant effort. And he has also performed very well. Because one advantage he had was that he joined Delhi Metro almost at the same time as Mr. Sridharan. So he has continued the same work culture. There has been no change in the work culture and work pattern of Delhi Metro. And if you see under his stewardship, when Mr. Sridharan left, 190 kilometers was what we had constructed. Mr. Mangu Singh has built another 190 kilometers. Fabulous. So Delhi Metro has rolled on at the same pace. Yeah,
thanks to Delhi Metro, I think the three states, UP, the NCT and Haryana are connected seamlessly to a large extent.
Because Delhi is no more Delhi.
True.
It's all over. Gurgaon, Noida, Ballabgarh, it's all Delhi, Ghaziabad.
Absolutely. So what has been your most challenging moments or one or two of your challenging moments as part of the DMRC leadership in the last couple of decades?
the most challenging moment which I faced, I had two such moments which I remember. One was the transition from print journalism to electronic journalism. There was a resistance, even everybody is slightly cagey as far as electronic journalism is concerned, because things do get altered at the editing table. Plus, the redressal system in the print, it's a very old medium, is much more. You can write a letter to the editor, they will print it, or they will do a counter story. It's happened. Electronic, once the story goes, it goes. The damage has been done. It's very difficult to get another story out of them. The pace is so high over there. So that was an issue, and initially I was a bit reluctant to include them. Like I said, when I started off, there were only 18-20 papers to deal with. We had a little bit of friction once or twice on those issues, but gradually it settled down. And another incident which I had was where there was a place called Zamrudpur, which is very close to Greater Kailash. Over there we had a major accident, and in that major accident 8-9 people were killed. That was an extremely challenging, and I would say extremely learning experience for me. And I think every communicator should understand the mistake that we made, so that it is not repeated again. For example, the accident took place at 5 in the morning. We did understand, at that time nobody knew it would happen, so there was no shot available. Accident had taken place. So the only visual shot was of the accident after it had happened. Next day, as a company, we were always extremely good. We tried to do the recovery very fast. So the recovery operation was planned for the next day. Now the recovery operation was well known that it was going to be done at this time. We had got 4 huge cranes of 400 tons each to lift the girder. And the recovery operation was being watched by the entire media. They had surrounded the whole area. Now during the recovery operation, one of the cranes developed a mechanical fault.
I see.
When it toppled onto the other cranes, and the entire lot of cranes fell onto the media. They got live footage of all this happening. As a communicator, why create news? Once your accident has happened, let things die down, let things cool down, and do it at a much later stage.
But
we created news literally.
Yeah, but did you have a choice to not allow media there when that was happening? You had a choice because it was a public road.
It's Delhi, and it's an open area.
Yeah.
You can't stop them. The houses around, they can climb out of the houses. You can just cordon them off.
True.
Luckily, nobody was injured in that incident. Otherwise, it would have been much worse.
Right.
So that was a huge learning experience, which I say, unless you're blocking a public utility or something, you should not. But we did tackle it on a war footing, because when the accident happened, the same day, within 2 hours, we gave a press conference. I got after my organization to give me information, because I needed the information pronto. Because if I don't give information, all sorts of wild, instead of 8-9 dead, it would have been 50 dead, 100 dead, any speculation, and the company is not speaking. We spoke to them in 1.5 hours time, we gave them information. We gave them information again after 4 hours. So we were able to control that part. But this was the mistake which I mentioned.
So would you say this is one of the worst crises you saw in your tenure at DMRC?
Yes, it was the worst. This was the most difficult.
Tell us more about your team. I'm sure you've been there 20 years. You've built an entire team of communicators over those 2 decades. Tell us more about how your team is structured and how you hire those people to be part of your team.
Mr. Sridharan was very reluctant to sanction manpower. He wanted to build an organization where there were very few people. Even the officers, he wanted a corporate culture. He didn't want a government system where you have a lot of, peons and chaprasis and, clerks. He was not interested in that. So for 10 years, we were only 4 people. So the entire thing was handled by only 4, including me. And later on, of course, we have built a bigger team. We have a museum now. We have other responsibilities. Right. The metro is a huge network now. So we have a bigger team now.
How large is your team now?
Today, it's about 12 to 13 people.
So what do you look for when you hire people into your team? Is there a specific trait you look for in this young person or older person who comes to be part of the corporate communications team at DMR?
It's very structured now. There's a written examination, then there's an interview, there's a medical test. It's like getting into any competitive system. And I found a competitive system works well. I've got some good boys. But the interview, I'm very tough with them. The interview, I grill them properly. I do not want a negative person in my team. It's not that I've been always right, but 99% I've been right. Getting the right person with the right attitude is the most important. It's not your technical qualifications. You can always teach technology.
So how do you find attitude in an interview? What do you do to get to know the attitude?
It's very difficult because you don't have that much time.
Yes.
But I go for a stress interview normally. I stress out that person, try to create a very extreme situations, and I try to gauge his reaction in that situation. And I like to see discipline in the way you dress. It also reflects your mentality. A proper haircut, Proper shaving is very, very important. The way you wear your dress. If somebody comes with a lot of, with that sort of body language, with long hair and that casual attitude, I won't take him.
I see.
I want discipline also.
Nice. Okay. Good to know. So we've spoken about your work life, professional life, the metro. Let's go back to your childhood and younger days. Tell us about your growing up days, which school or college or city you grew up in. Tell us more about that. Where were you born in to start with?
I was grown up in 2 cities.
Okay.
I have an army background. My father was in the army. So I was born in Delhi, in the military hospital. Studied in a school called Mount St. Mary's in Delhi Cantonment. And then went to Bangalore. Then passed out my schooling from St. Joseph's in Bangalore. Then we
boys'
got-
high school.
Boys' high school. We came back to Delhi, passed out from DPS Mathura Road. Then I joined Hindu College. Did my graduation from there and I was highly confused on what to do in life. So I did my masters and all and I appeared for civil services because there's no other option of what to do. And I did a huge, over 6-7 diplomas. Many, and 2-3 of them happened to be in mass media, mass comm, because we had only diplomas that time. There were no degree courses in mass communication in those days. IMC even now is a diploma only.
So if not railways or IRS first and then the metros, what would have been your career choice? I know you said you were confused then, but what were the other options you had thought of?
I think I would have been a journalist.
Okay.
I had got a job in Hindustan Times, but this was a more of a steady job, sarkari job, an army background that, so you wanted that security, risk-taking ability is slightly less in me, I guess.
So what do you do for leisure? How do you spend time from work? Tell us more about that.
I love reading novels. I love seeing movies and I love sport. I used to be a squash player till the age of 55. Now I switched over to golf.
I didn't even know you're over 55 now. Okay.
Oh, I am. I'm a golfer.
Okay.
So I love my golf.
Interesting. Okay. Do you travel a lot? Do you visit cities outside the country? Or
I do travel all over the world, but I don't travel a lot.
Do you have a favorite metro that is outside of India?
I like London. Though London is an old metro, London has number of breakdowns. Right. If you ask any Londoner, I had a group of journalists from London who came to meet me, about 8-9 of them, as part of the exchange program with the government of India. About 8-9 of them came and they were really critical of their metro. Very critical, because it keeps breaking down. It was the first metro in the world, started in the year 1863. But I appreciate their communication system. It's wonderful. If a line breaks down, they are immediately able to convey to the public about it. They have a bus system which is part of the same organization. Or their buses immediately come into a position to divert passengers. Their communication system with the public is very good.
Is there something like that planned in Delhi metro system?
We are trying now. See, we came out to social media pretty late. So now on my Twitter handle, @officialdmrc, within a few minutes of any breakdown or any stallage, we are able to inform the public. And we have never canvassed our Twitter, but on its own, with its own internal organic growth, we have 80,000 followers, which is growing rapidly.
So there are a lot of youngsters getting into the profession these days, communications, PR. What is your advice for somebody who wants to make a career in public relations? You shared a lot of your advice in a different context earlier from your learnings from your bosses. But what should a young person who's in his or her late teens or early 20s look for before they make this choice to get into corporate communications or public relations?
I think that keenness should be there. And I found that most of them are keen. Most of the youngsters coming into this profession are keen. What I feel a little worried about is the plethora, it has mushroomed. PR education has mushroomed all over the place. So the quality of the educators is a bit of a concern to me. Because it's all over now. You have private institutes, you have government institutes, and I don't know whether we have sufficient educators. And another thing that I feel, many of the educators have PhDs, but they don't have practical exposure. They continue in that same stream. For example, you are a mass comm, you're a master's, and you have enough exposure. You should be talking to students.
Which I do, and this is part of
that's
that
good.
as well,
That's good. Yeah. But in the US, the faculty is drawn from the industry and from academics. It has to be a mix.
So that's one part. So what would you advise a youngster who's getting into the profession to keep in mind for him or her to do well, excel, and make it big in the profession?
It's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle. Anything in India is a struggle for youngsters here. Getting a break is difficult for them. Once you get a break, I think you should show loyalty. You should show diligence. And this concept of midnight working and all, I am not in favor of all that, which is happening in many companies. They start working late in the evenings and late nights, and I don't agree with that. In Delhi Metro, can you believe we've built such a huge network before time? And the working hours, what our working hours are? 9 to 5:30. You don't need, the mistake which happens, if I can very easily organize 10 meetings and keep 20 people waiting, You have your meetings on time, dispose of on time. You won't 8 hours a day is enough. It doesn't mean if you're working in the night, you're more efficient. Probably, I would say, you're likely, unless there is some core, if you're a newspaper journalist, and obviously your deadline is till 10 o'clock in the night. That's another matter. And as a PR guy, if you have to do some work with him at that time, yes, that of course has to be there. Right. But I'm just saying 8 hours of hard work is generally enough to, whereas I find this concept of late working and all, in many professions, not just PR. That is there. I don't agree with that.
Right. You mentioned in some context a little while ago your age, saying you were 55, which means you're over, which means in a few years you'll retire as well. Do you have a plan what you will do after you retire, or you keeping that open?
Absolutely open. Absolutely open.
Do you plan to write a book, because you have so many stories from the world of metro, from the world of communications?
I've written a couple of books. I don't know, but I don't think I'm that good a writer. Maybe I'll give it a shot, but I'm not very confident about myself.
True. So we're coming to the end of this interview. Before I do a rapid fire with you, I want to check with you if there's something you wanted to share that we didn't come up in our conversation that you can add for the viewers, which is primarily professionals, youngsters. Add your thoughts.
See, I would say this is the most exciting profession to be in. For example, in whichever organization, if you are the PR guy, you have access to every aspect of the PR working. Whereas a surgeon in a hospital is looking after his surgery, the anesthetist is looking after the anesthesia part, the cardiologist is looking after cardiology. But if you are the PR guy of the hospital, you have access to everything. Right. And it's so exciting. Every day you're learning something new, the new challenges. It's a very exciting profession.
So thank you so much for your time with us, Mr. Dayal, and I hope to engage with you in the future as well. So we'll get you into the rapid fire mode, 9 questions in less than 90 seconds. So let's see if we can get there. What's your most trusted brand other than the one you work for?
Indian Railways.
Indian Railways. Which is your favorite one book that you recommend to everybody you love reading?
Bhagavad Gita.
Great. Your favorite line on the Delhi Metro network?
Let people deboard first before you board.
I meant to ask you the colors of the line, whether it's magenta, pink, blue, but...
my favorite line would be red.
Why so?
That was the first line we started.
Okay. The best boss you ever worked for?
Dr. E. Sridharan.
Your professional role model?
Dr. Sridharan.
One Indian communicator you admire beyond the area of your work?
Jitendra Bhargav. He was the head of Copcom in Air India.
A communication campaign you admire the most outside of your work again? One campaign.
We also make steel, Tatas, once upon a time. Not Tatas, sorry, SAIL.
SAIL, right. Your favorite holiday destination?
Shimla.
Okay. The last one, describe Anuj Dayal in 3 words.
Well, punctual, sticks to routine, and nice guy.
That was Mr. Anuj Dayal, the man who runs the reputation for the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. It was indeed a pleasure talking to him and learning so much in these few minutes. I hope you enjoyed the same. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Ram.